Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a really weird glitch in our brains, a little trap that makes a detailed story feel more true than a simple fact. And the crazy thing is, it gets all of us, even people who are supposed to be experts in logic. So let me just start with this question. Can adding details to a story, making it richer, more specific, actually make it less likely to be true? I know, it sounds totally backwards, right? But stick with me, because the answer tells us something really fundamental about how our minds work. Okay, so to really get into this, let's look at a classic thought experiment from the psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And it all starts with a woman named Linda. So, meet Linda. The experiment tells us she's smart, she's passionate, and she's politically active, really into social justice. Now, as you hear this, you're probably already building a little mental picture of her, right? What she's like, what she might do for a living. Now, in the actual experiment, people got a list of options for what Linda does. Some of them, like active in the feminist movement, feel like they fit her description perfectly. Others, like bank teller, well, that seems to clash with the image we just built. But the real trap, the part that's so clever, is when we compare just two of those options. All right, now for the twist. This is the moment where our intuition goes head-to-head with cold, hard logic. Okay, so just look at these two choices. Which one feels more probable for the Linda we just met? Is she a bank teller? Or is she a bank teller who is also active in the feminist movement? Now, be honest. Most of us have a very strong gut feeling about this one. And the results are, well, they're staggering. As you can see here, a whopping 89% of undergrads chose the more detailed but logically impossible option. But check out the second bar. Even 85% of doctoral students in decision science, these are people trained in probability. They made the exact same mistake. They all went with the story that just felt more real. And this is the whole puzzle, isn't it? Logically, it just can't work. How can the chance of A and B happening be higher than the chance of just A happening? It completely violates a basic rule of probability. So, why do our brains get this so spectacularly wrong? Let's break down the fundamental logic that our intuition consistently decides to just, ignore in favor of a better story. Think of it like a couple of circles. The big circle represents all the bank tellers in the world. Now, the group of feminist bank tellers has to be a smaller circle inside that bigger one, right? By definition, you can't be in the small circle without also being in the big one. So it is always, always more probable that Linda is in the larger group than the smaller, more specific one. And this classic mistake has a name. It's called the Conjunction Fallacy. It's what happens when the details of a story, how well they fit our stereotypes, just completely overpower our sense of logic. The plausible story wins, even when it's logically impossible. Even Daniel Kahneman himself was stunned when he first saw this. This quote really captures that shock. As he said, they put logic up against a good story, and the good story won, hands down. I love this quote from Stephen Jay Gould. He totally gets it. He knows the right answer, the logical answer. But he perfectly describes that nagging little voice in our head, our intuition, that's just screaming, but she can't just be a bank teller. Look at the description. It just can't accept the less compelling but more probable truth. Okay, so let's see how this little brain glitch shows up in other places. It turns out this whole less is more effect, where adding stuff actually subtracts value or probability, it's kind of everywhere. So take a look at these two sets of dishes. Set A has 40 pieces total, but a few of them are broken. Set B is smaller, only 24 pieces, but they're all in perfect condition. Which one would you pay more for? The results here are just fascinating. When people only saw one set at a time, they were willing to pay way more for the smaller, perfect set B. Why? Well, those broken dishes in set A kind of poisoned the well. They lowered the average quality in people's minds. But when they saw both sets side by side, their logical brain switched on. They realized, hey, wait a minute, set A has everything set B has, plus extra stuff, and suddenly they priced it higher. So if our intuition is this easy to trick, is there a way to fight back, a way to wake up our logical brain? Well, it turns out the answer is yes, and it's surprisingly simple. So what researchers did was rephrase a problem like Linda's. Instead of asking about an abstract thing like percentages, they asked about a concrete number of people. Out of 100 people, how many? And the difference is just dramatic. You can see it on the chart. The error rate with the percentage question was a pretty high 65%. But when they reframed it to how many, it plummeted, all the way down to 25%. That simple shift forces our brain to actually picture the individual people, and it makes the relationship between the groups way clearer. And this is that classic battle between what Kahneman calls System 1 and System 2. Our intuitive System 1 is our gut. It's fast, it's automatic, and it absolutely loves a plausible, coherent story. Our logical System 2, well, it understands the rules of probability, but it's slow, it's lazy, it takes effort to engage it, and a lot of the time it just lets the good story win. Okay, so let's bring this all home, because this isn't just some fun little brain teaser. This glitch has some serious real-world consequences. When we make forecasts or plan for the future, we fall into the exact same trap. A scenario like an earthquake in California causes a massive flood sounds super plausible and specific. It makes it easy to imagine. But by definition, it is less likely than the much more general, a massive flood occurs somewhere in North America. Adding those details makes the story more persuasive, but it always makes it less probable.
And that is the absolute key takeaway from all of this. Our brains are just wired to love a good narrative. We have to be vigilant. We have to remember not to confuse a story that sounds really good and compelling with one that is actually probable.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Whether it's something you read in the news, a business plan at work, or even something in your own life, what detailed, coherent, and very plausible story might be fooling your brain right now?
Thanks for watching.